everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. It is sap gathering day. It is a sunny, beautiful morning, and we got to get out to the woods before the ground gets soft. I made a run out there yesterday to check on my buckets, and they are full. So let me show you what we've got going on. So if you've got a pickup for gathering sap, it's great, but a dual axle trailer works even better, because then you're dealing with the weight of the tank on that dual axle. The trouble is this heavy metal brake is on there, and we got to get a neighbor down here to unload it. So we put the IBC tote up in the back of the Dodge. We're gonna go out there and collect our sap. We've got the whole crew here today. Yeah. So let's talk for a minute about food grade. Why food grade? Well, do you want to get chemicals or off residues in your sap? No, you don't. So around our areas, they're calling it cottage food laws. So if you're below a certain dollar amount, you can sell your food products without getting inspected by your local government for your kitchen cleanliness and operation. So the big guys in the maple syrup industry, their whole sugar house is set up with a kitchen, everything stainless steel, no rust, no residues, no off flavors. You want the best final product you can produce. So that being said, we've got a stainless steel milk funnel here, a food grade IBC tote. Any IBC totes you get, you want to make sure that there was only food grade items in it. Around our area, there are a lot of food producers. Apple juice and things like that make great reuse on the barrels and the tanks. This is a 275 gallon caged IBC tote. It sits on a pallet, so you can move it around with a forklift or a pallet jack. It works really great that way. And we have it plumbed with PVC fittings for draining it out. So now we're gonna head out to the woods and go fill it up.
Where are we going with?
I got them working now. Murdoch and I came out yesterday with 10 empty buckets, and we tried to swap out any full buckets. But we came out just about full, or dripping and totally full. We are at about almost 150 gallons right now. We've gotten to less than half of our taps, I think, but the Dodge is doing just great, and he says the heavier it gets, the better it handles any sand or mud out here in the woods. George is out walking around. The guys are taking turns walking with him. I think Bethy got her boot wet, so she's riding in the truck. So with the wind, you occasionally get this kind of thing going on. I try to use little broken sticks to level a bucket if it's not sitting level. This one apparently just got too heavy. Ooh, and not flat enough a spot. I wanted to share some information I found. I have the backyard sugar maker's companion book. That author suggests that if you have like 30 to 60 maple trees per acre, that it might not be worth tapping. Well, backyard sugar makers do like 4 taps, 8 taps, 10, and they grow and try to get more trees over time. Well, a 5-gallon bucket, each tap probably gives me about 40 gallons of sap a season. Every tap is a gallon of syrup. Some trees, like these old ones, I didn't bring my refractometer out here, but a lot of them are 3 and 4% sugar instead of 2%. So if it's 4%, it's 20 gallons of sap. to make a gallon of syrup. Super great stuff. He is sloshing around sap in that tote like crazy. Woo! Did you just throw that at me? Or did that drip from the tree? I'm underneath a drip. It just went splop on me. This is a real sight of beauty to me. One trip out, first collection of sap in the woods. We filled the 275 gallon tote and we brought back about 10 buckets, about 3/4 full, half full, so they wouldn't slosh around too much. Filled full of sap. So I'm going to transfer this over to the stainless steel tank because it's insulated. We're going to be cooking outside this year, and this tank, I don't want it sitting in the sun. It's going to get pumped out to the stainless steel tank because it won't be sitting in direct exposure of the sun, meaning it is going to last longer. It's not going to spoil from sitting in the heat of the sun all day. One of the hardest things about gathering sap is dealing with the ground being soft. When you're having the freeze-thaw cycles that make the sap run, the ground is also thawing. So this morning the ground is hard, and if we need to gather sap, we wanted to get out early and do it. So I've got a little frozen sap in here. It didn't actually run much the last 2 days. So these great big trees in the center of our peninsula are massive trees. I'm going to bring out 4 more buckets for this set of trees. They are just running so much. They're way ahead of the others. They always are. I could probably do 6 taps in this tree, but I don't want to overdo it. They're old trees. They are magnificent. Doesn't look like much now, but oh my. They're just beautiful. They actually give some shade and privacy to this open area. It is probably 60 feet wide on the flat surface, and then it opens right up to a peninsula with this beautiful creek over here. And this is why we like our woods so much. If you've seen any of our other videos in the past, this is one of the first sections of the woods that we discovered when we were looking at the property, because there's actual road paths up to here. We have an actual babbling creek. Everything runs downhill through here and downhill out to the main river. So it's just beautiful. Eventually someday we can get up in there with sap lines and run tubing. Run it right across the creek. You never even have to walk foot over there. There's plenty of stone paths and it's shallow in areas. There's spots where there's logs down right there so that we can walk across. And this area here will probably all get tapped next year. I went over and marked a bunch for tapping if I could find another IBC tote for this year now that we have our pump set up. But you know what? An IBC tote will not fit in the back of the Suburban. And the closest place I can find food grade clean IBC totes is the Grand Rapids area. That's about an hour drive for me. With the kids stopping at McDonald's, like an $80 or $100 IBC tote ends up costing $150. Doesn't matter if we pack a lunch or not. It's okay if we can find a picnic spot, but see there's like old cherry trees here that are going to be firewood. But the steep slope makes it too hard to go up there. And I'm still pretty young, but that's a lot of work getting up a hill like that. And most of the trees down here are single taps. So the expense of tapping this area, it's all up on a mound. It just really adds up quick. But just beyond here, there are some granddaddies of some trees for tapping. And you can see up here, there's some big ones that are on this slope. They can all run down here into one central line. We can set a tote right here, park the trailer up there, and run our tubing down here to empty out a tote. It's just great. So again, about half full. And the sap is going to run today, and I don't want the buckets overflowing. So the kids are getting up. They always start a little later than I do. And Dad's home to feed them breakfast, so I decided I would walk out instead of bring everybody out here if the buckets are empty. And when they're about half full like this, it's kind of nice for emptying because that's less work for Mom. The kids can handle the half full buckets a lot better. But we've got trees, like these bigger ones, and sometimes they can be a 4-tap tree, but we still stuck with 2. So even though some of these buckets might be half, the bigger tree might be full because it's on 1 bucket instead of 2 buckets. Yeah, see, this is usually a good running tree, and it's only about 1/4 full. This is the tree that had the woodpecker holes in it, and I wanted to see what this one was looking like especially. Yeah, see, again, nothing. It's 2-3 inches. So I think when we come up, I'm going to just go ahead and pull this tap out. Right up there. It's dripping all right out of that woodpecker hole. Even though the tap is down lower, it's just kind of missing that spot. This one wasn't here the other day. And then you can see this area here, it just is staying wet. So I'm going to pull this tap out when we come up here and call it good, because that's not going to make much difference. And why have that bucket sitting there? Because I actually found I could bring some more taps out. We found where our definitive property line is, which is always hard on these places. But they used to run cattle fencing through the woods. So I'm going to be able to add about 6 more trees today, which 12 taps. Surely more than makes up for that one bad one. He says almost 200 gallons, so that's pretty good. We actually got out there by the river. Some of the buckets were so full and they had double taps running into 1 bucket. I'm going to run up to Menards and buy some more food grade buckets just so I can divide them a little bit. So I sold some of my old metal galvanized stuff the other day. The stuff doesn't go down in value. You don't have to sell it for half of what you paid for it. And it's getting harder and harder to find. So I'm going to take the money that I spent on those buckets and reinvest it into some more 5-gallon buckets. So I think if I want my sap gathering crew busy, I need to pick up another 15 or so buckets. So we're emptying out the sap storage tank so it gets right out of the sun into our insulated tank. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm headed off to get supplies. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.